Hello everyone and welcome to this webinar where we are gonna explain and show some of the new features that we have just released, and we know that many of our users have been waiting a long time for them. Even the team has been working very hard the last few weeks, and we are very excited to show you these new features. So this webinar will take max 45 minutes. We will have time to answer some questions, so feel free to use the chat, write some questions. I will be checking during the presentation, and if it's possible, I will try to answer them, or we leave them to the end. Anyway, if you can assist the entire webinar, you know that it's gonna be recorded, so it's gonna be available in our YouTube channel. After the webinar, it will take some time, but it will be available for everyone there. And as you already know, if you have seen, if you have read our email and post, we are going to be talking about two main features that we have just deployed. The first one is about the electrical drawings or the schematics that now you can create in Simumatik. And the second main feature is related to organizations and how you can share and organize better now the content you create within the organization. So let's get started. I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna start showing the new feature related to the schematics or 2D drawings. So I'm gonna jump into a fake organization. I'm gonna start an online workspace, and I'm gonna open one of our famous tutorials, the basic electric circuit tutorial. And I just want to show you how we have been actually until now making how we have done the connections between the components, and how this has been improved now with the use of the 2D drawings or schematics. So until now, you know that in Simumatik, when you create a system, you are actually putting together components into assemblies and then making connections between those components. And you do that, or we have done that until now, just with the help of the port connections. So here, down here, if we select, for example, this H01 lamp, we could connect it to the ports in the power supply. And we could also see the symbol of the components, the port names here, both for the power supply and the symbol and the lamp. And basically what we were doing was connecting here X1 to the power supply, the positive port, and the X2 port to the negative port. And that was the way we were basically drawing or taking two wires, one to X1 and the other to X2, to make the lamp switch on. And we could see that just click and play. So it wasn't very natural way to make the connections, and many people, even us, we knew that we could improve that. And what we have done now is that in any system, you can click here and you can create drawing pages, as I just did here by clicking this button. You can create more than one page for your system. If I click again, now I have two pages, and I can move between the pages. So once you do that, once you have a drawing page, now you can start drag and dropping the components you have already in your system. And if you already have a connection between them, it will show up here. So I just drag and drop the power supply, and now I'm gonna drag and drop the lamp, and you see here how the connections that we have done here are already shown in the diagram. We can move the components around. We can actually move as well their name, and we can organize the components in the drawing page as we want. So that is the way that is shown here, but we can now add more components and actually make connections using the 2D drawings. So I'm gonna switch to the next page, and in this case I'm gonna add another lamp, H2. If we go back to the 3D view, this is H2. So I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna make the connection for this component, but I'm gonna use the S1 button as well. So I'm gonna drag and drop H2, and now I'm gonna drag and drop S01. So at this point, I can actually even rotate the symbol, as you can see here. I can rotate them in both directions, and you can scale and even remove it. And what I can do is I can connect the component to each other just by drag and dropping the ports. So this is the way I connected X2 in this button S01 to the lamp. Now, because I don't even have the power supply in this page, I can right click in this port, and I can make the connection here to another component that is in another page. So I can do it like that. Even here, I can do this connection, and I can go to the power supply positive. And what I just did is actually create a link here, which if I double click, I can go to the page where the component is actually placed. So it's quite powerful tool. I can add components or the symbols of the components in one or the other page. Even I can add the same component in different pages, and then I can jump between the different pages with these arrows. That if you are familiar with the schematics, you will know that it sends you it tells you which page and which column the given component is. So this is like the basics of drawings. There is another pretty nice feature, which is the printing. So we can click here once we are happy with a system, and we can get the PDF file of the drawings, and we can open it. As you can see here, we can see all the pages and the connections with it. And this is super useful because now it opens completely new way to use Simumatik. You can use it from the beginning to teach students the very basics from the drawings, and then jump into the 3D environment and help them to understand how to interpret the 2D drawings and the connection to the real thing or the 3D world. So I'm gonna make another example. I'm gonna close this system, and I'm gonna open another system that you probably are quite familiar with, this pneumatic system, and I'm gonna do it from the beginning. I'm gonna create the 2D drawings for this system, and I'm gonna show you how easy it is to build something for your students that they just need to they can take, and they could use it for troubleshooting or learning how to make the connections properly. So let's add the compressor that we already have in this system. We have it here behind the box. Let's add as well to the drawing this I03 valve, which is a 5-3 valve. We make the connection between the compressor and the valve, and let's add this double acting cylinder. Okay, for example, an exercise for students could be to try to figure out, okay, what's the connection that is missing here, so the system behaves in a certain way. If I leave it as it is, we know that if I click play, I will be able to extract the cylinder, but I'm not able to retract it. And to do that, I need to go here, go back to the drawing, and I need to make the connection between these two ports. So now I can go back and press the joystick here, and it works as expected. So this was briefly the new feature. As you can see, it's very powerful. You can now start doing the connections directly using the drawings. You are not forced to use this. You can, if you prefer to keep doing the connections because it's quicker using the right port connections, you can do it anyway. But it is a very good way as well to document your project, document your system, so you don't need to create the drawings in another software. You can just create them directly in Simumatik. And as I showed, you can then create a PDF and download it and put it as a documentation, or use it as a documentation for your system. You are not even forced to use all the components in your system in the drawings, just the ones that you want. So that was one of the main features, and we are going to jump now to the other feature that we have just released, which is related to organizations and sharing. So I'm going to close this system again. And I'm going to jump into the admin page for organizations. So this is going to be a bit new for some of you because you maybe haven't seen this page. This is the administration page for managers in an organization and the admin users. So this is where you can add and remove new members to an organization. You can give them different roles, and you can group them in different groups. And now all this is taking a new sense, because it's gonna allow you to share the content with different individual users or groups or the entire organization. Okay, so in this page, this is just a fictitious organization, and in this system, or in this organization, we just have 2 users. Here is where you select the role of each organization or of each user, and you can create new groups. So let's say you want to invite some new members, students or whatever, to your organization. You can just create here a new group by typing a name. Let's call it group 1, and it's gonna be empty from the beginning, but you can easily move different users. Let's move myself, another account I have, to another group, just clicking transfer and then selecting the group where you want to move it. So by doing that, you can just organize your members in the organization, and then when you invite the new members, you can just select in which organization you want to add them. So let's invite a new user. I'm gonna add here another email address. Let's add the Simumatik contact email address as a user, and if the user actually exists, which is the case, it's gonna be added directly. But if not, it will appear in this page, and this is also a new feature we have just deployed, which will allow you to invite this user that maybe doesn't even have a Simumatik account, and it's gonna allow you to send this user an email to this account, and it's gonna get a link, which is, if it's using this link, it's gonna be able to register at Simumatik, and then it's gonna be assigned directly to your organization. So this eases a lot the creation of groups when, for example, as a teacher, you have a bunch of students you need to start or introduce to your organization. You can just copy paste the list of students, paste it here, and if they haven't created an account yet, they will get an email from you with a personal message, and they will be able to register and will be included directly in the organization. So this is what has changed. We have refreshed a little bit this page, which allows you easier organizing the groups. And if we go back to the workspace, I'm gonna create a new system, and I'm gonna show you how I can share this system with just some of the users in my organization, or just the entire group, or the entire organization. So I'm gonna just take, for example, the same system we used before in the tutorial. I'm gonna click here in view, and this is a public system, so I'm gonna create a clone of that system. Let's call it now exercise 1. It's gonna be, let's say I'm a teacher, it's gonna be my exercise for the students. As soon as I have cloned it, I have created a system within my organization that now I can decide with whom I want to share it. So until now, everything that has been created within an organization, both systems, components, and libraries, have been shared with the entire organization, but that is not the case from now. So from now, we will be able to do that just if we select this checkbox, and this will give access to all the users, all the members in that organization to see my creation. Okay, in this case, this system. If I change to editor, I'm actually giving them as well the opportunity to edit, to change this system. Okay, and this is basically, if you check all the systems that your organization owns until now, you will see that this check is going to be activated. This is how it worked until now. The difference is that now I can decide not to share it with the entire organization, but just with a certain group. So let's see, this is an exercise just for the group called group 1, the one that I just created. And I want them just to be able to see this system. So I can save it like this. And it's just that group that will be able to see my exercise. Okay, as you can see here now in groups, I can see that this group 1, has access as a viewer to this exercise. In addition, I could now invite, for example, myself, another account I have, and tell, okay, let's allow Mikkel as well to be editor because he's another teacher or like a teacher in this organization. And then I can save this, and I will have now both sharing functions at the same time. I have a user that has an editor permission, and then I have a group that has a viewer permission. This is how it works with both components and systems. And if we go back to the libraries, we have also modified how the libraries are shared within the organization. So until now, as I mentioned before, all the libraries that were created within an organization, even if it was a student or a user with just creator rights, it was shared with the entire organization. From now, each user that creates a new library is gonna, let's create one. I'm gonna call it new library. It's gonna decide now, once you have the new library, it's gonna decide if the library is gonna be visible with the rest of the members of the organization or not. And this is just for all of them. Okay, we have decided to keep this part simple. So libraries are visible or hidden for the rest of the users, but it's the elements inside, like the components or the systems, that you can actually give or give access or not for the rest of the users. Okay, so when you click visible here, then you are making the library visible for all of them, all the members in the organization, and hiding it means that it's just you that can see it. So I think that was most of it. I think it was actually much quicker than I thought I had planned. So I'm gonna wait just a few seconds if there is anyone having any question about the new features. And in the meantime, I can tell you that this is just like the first release we have of these new features. We have planned a lot of further improvements, both with the 2D drawings and the component and system sharing, everything related to organization. So the team keeps working pretty hard, and probably in the beginning of the next year we will have even more news. And we appreciate a lot if you have any feedback, if you contact us, or with ideas related to these new features or more features that you would like to see in Simumatik. So we are very happy to hear from you and get your feedback. And let's see, I don't see any questions, so I think we are we can we are finished with this webinar. So yeah, I'm just gonna thank you for watching. As I mentioned before, the video will be available in our YouTube channel after this, and have a nice evening, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.